we were part of the different stages of journeys during what led to this with our local marae. And now we could do a joint venture and have some great ideas, whether it be down there, up here, knocking down the playground, knocking down everything. And going, okay. When I was younger as a kid, under 10s, 11s, and they were running the club, so to see them in that, I'm in that age where they are in that kaumātua status, like it's been a generation, it's almost that cycle of generation of moving into the club. So, well, it's funny because when it rains and you see all the kids in the mud and the coaches, and I'm going, did I really put myself through that? Did I really put myself? I must have been stupid. But the memories of that serving of our community has always been, and league was that vehicle to serve my community, and I found a love for it. And growing up, I wasn't really a good player at all, really. I was just a nerd. Nerd doesn't mean clever, it just means I was different from the boys, They got into their stuff, I was just the guy that's just, oh yeah, it's all good. Church boy, always looking for food. These guys just loved playing, they were hard. Great men, as far as I, because when it comes to players, during my under 10s, my early days, it was like, wow, while eating my pie. Well, you guys are amazing. And then growing up, went into church ministry with our local church for 15 years. Came back in my late 20s with St. John's Catholic Church, but we were part of the Christian movement for Youth for Christ. So we were part of that space. Unheard of, Catholic Church in a Christian space, so we sort of broke a lot of barriers in that space, so it was awesome. So when it ended, I thought in my late 20s, I need to play with my two brothers, my younger brothers. And so I first went to Pakuranga, I played with one of the brothers, and then played with him there. And then my baby brother, he was the man here, Patrick Peace. He was the man here, so came back to the club and caught up with the guys I grew up with. My 20s, 50s is quite a long time, so they didn't know what I was like. I was in my late 20s and going, oh, look at this old fella. But haven't had no contact, so I was quite fresh. So came into the club, back into the club in the 90s. Yeah, in the 90s. And did my thing, and thankfully still had a bit of leg speed, still had a bit of size, 6 foot, and I was on the centre wing. I think I was almost bigger than most of the forward pack. And obviously the rest is history. We got into championships, winning the Fox, winning 3rd division, 2nd division, and then winning the Fox 2 years after that. And then was told by the club chairman at the time, Shirley Murray, okay, you need to be my successor. I'm going, I just won the Fox. Are you telling me? And this I was in my 30s. I said, am I going to retire? I said, yeah, that's enough. Oh, no. I want to play. And then next minute, okay, then I'm now going to be succession planning for the club chair. And then did that for about 10 odd years, ups and downs. But yeah, when you're the chairman and you're the groundsman, so every Saturday morning come and dress the fields, and then undress the fields at the end of the day, and then host the guests of our premieres, and then be the bar manager running the bar in the evenings, and then security asking people to leave. And so probably why many people didn't want to be part of the committee, because they saw my role going, sorry, I don't want to do your job. You got 6 jobs all in one day. I says, well, no one wanted to, so had to, There were hundreds of children that wanted to play, and we had to do something. If there was a highlight during my time, it's just learning from amazing people. The chairmans of the previously, Shirley Murray was the main one that I worked under. Under her chairmanship was probably we won the most championships. 2nd, 3rd, Fox, under 19s, under 21s, senior age win. A whole lot of championships in her era. So I'm going, well, if that doesn't speak, what else do you want? That was the whole purpose of the club. And Ōtara was, in those days, wow. And having won the Fox, probably the last year of Carlo Park was opened, before it closed. A few years after that, it's beyond words, Then I turned my skills into coaching, and I took my son coaching is when he was under nines, I think, under 10s. And I set up a satellite club at Ōtara up at Dawson Road. So I was chairman then, and I thought we needed to grow the numbers because they all came from here. And we had about 12, 13 teams. And during that time, I felt, well, people can't get here from Dawson Road, from Waimonley, from Flatbush. So I set up the idea of setting a satellite club. And so the first satellite club we set up was my one at Dawson Road, because that's where we lived down at Norrie Smith, up there by Dawson Road shops. Because I hated seeing at the shops every Saturday all the colours of Papatoi, Otahu, Pakuranga, all the different clubs again, but no Scorpions again. Damn, that has to change. So I decided to work with the local school which my children went to for my own under 10s team and called the Wolfpack. The kids named it, not me. I'm going, Wolfpack, okay. So went roll with it because you got to get that buy-in. And after a few years, we ended up with 7 teams playing for the Scorpions. And so the theme was, if you can walk to school, you can come to training. And so the venue of the Ōtara Scorpions, it was Dawson Road Primary. So that was the first satellite. The second satellite was at Waimonley Primary. Same model, look for locals that were keen on, couldn't afford to come here because, to catch a bus, we're in a low socioeconomic community. So a lot of them couldn't afford to come here. And a lot of them worked different hours that they couldn't get their kids on time to training. So I thought, well, follow the same model, went to Waimonley, looked for some volunteers that would like to run a satellite club at Waimonley, and we got up to 5 teams there over a period of 2-3 years. And the last one was at Flatbush, at Sandbrook. We were able to get 1 team, but we didn't get the same commitment. But hey, and in the end, we had more teams outside of the club than at the club. And some people weren't happy about it, but the club now has 26 teams. In 3 years, we've got 26 teams. So you're telling me that the 13, 14 teams that we've created outside of the club weren't representative of our community? And my rationale for that was that because people couldn't afford to come. They're all working night shifts. People have to work jobs just to try and pay their rent, pay their bills. And so what better way was, well, let's use a school and negotiated with the school. I said, well, look, we can be your security during this period every day. Give us use of your fields. And there was a great partnership. Went to the local Dawson Road shops, looked for some sponsorship and some of the takeaways and some of the food shops and some furniture shop. They provided some sponsorship. It was a community approach to a local need. And so I saw more Otarians at Dawson Road than any other club. I didn't really care. Now, you play for Ōtara, you play for Papatoi, you play for Pakuranga. But the majority of our people that walked through the club were Ōtara at Dawson Road. So it was good to see the balance, And so I got into coaching and coached the group right through from under 10s to under 18s. We got into 5 finals and won 4 championships, 13, 14, 15, 16s and 18s. So of those 5 years, we've got 5 finals and we've won 4 championships. So as a junior club, to win 2 championships is a great thing, but to win 4 out of 5 for me was about representing the club. I said, the talent is here. And all of our kids that won the championship were all from Ōtara. 1 or 2 came from, but they were related. But 90%, 95% of our players that won championships under my coaching were all from Ōtara. So it just showed the depth in that space. So fond memories. One particular memory was, sometimes people hate on our community, and even at representative honours. Like, some of my boys should have represented New Zealand in under 16s. And so one year, we played at the time the Penrith Panthers, and they had a development where they come through. And they beat everybody. And they beat the New Zealand 16s. And their last game was against Auckland. And I had 10 of my boys that played in that team that beat the Penrith Panthers, junior grades. And I just said to my boys, guys, this is your representative colours now. Yeah, even though it's blue and white Auckland, but this is your chance to show that those selectors that selected the New Zealand team were wrong. And it got back to Penrith going, who the hell are these team from Auckland beating? This was Sonny Fa'i was old enough and able to play with my boys because they're the same age. But obviously he was a beautiful player and played higher honours. And so, yeah, that was one of those proud moments. That the fact that 10 of my boys got to represent Auckland was significant. The coach really saw the talents of the boys and recruited accordingly. And so, yeah, that was one of those moments. Um, as a coach, um, disappointed we weren't selected to play for New Zealand, but made up for it by being part of an Auckland team that beat an Australian side from people who beat everybody. You know, it's funny when I played for the Counties Manukau Heroes at the time, and I always wore my Scorpion jacket to the. You're not supposed to, but no one's going to stop me because obviously when you're 6 foot and you're bigger than most boys, you're sort of like, oh yeah. Um, and just wanting people to understand that I've come from a community that are behind me, you know, that in what I do, but I also represent them in everything that's ahead of me. So people know that where I come from, the people behind me have got my back, but I've also got theirs by making people understand I come from the hood of people talk about the promised land, 274. And I always made sure that I represented the Scorpions when I go to the training of counties, wherever we played. Um, yeah, they knew I was from Ōtara. I mean, I'm just the guy from the hood, just doing their best to give back to its community. The gifts that are given to me by God to try and demonstrate my service to my community, you know, because I represent my father, my mother, our family, me and my wife. Um, and there've been many people that have had faith in me and trust in me that I could make a difference. When I was elected in the community board back in the 90s, it was a chance to have a voice of the Scorpion in council, you know. Um, being a youth worker, always advocated for the voiceless, but there was an opportunity just to be, well, what could I do to represent our young people of our community, to make sure their voice is being heard? So being elected as a member of the community board, I was part of the group that set up the rec centre, the extension of the rec of Te Poki, stage 3. And I know Willie has Willie Mai, the chairman, has had a lot of prize givings there, you know. So what we did then was about advocating for space and change, but to see the fruits of that, it's used now for prize giving, it's used now for international events. Um, this club, this community, when people remember certain names, they go, wasn't he from the Scorpions? And that's what I want to reflect, you know. I've never coached any other team since I finished here. I said, you know, once a Scorpion, always a Scorpion. You know, there's a lot of liners that go, you know, you can take the boy out of Ōtara, but you can't take Ōtara out of the boy, you know. And I still see myself as a boy, still as a young person, even though I'm in my late 50s now. But I'm still a child, I'm still a son of Ōtara, you know. And people like Willie Mai, Alan Ba'a, always talk about the soul, you know, the sons of Ōtara, and for me, I'm one of them, you know. But my contribution is all about in the humility of service. So, yeah, that's why I'm sort of, wow, I didn't think it was going to be like that. But I'm humbled um, and privileged to have been considered and named as that person to be on the walls. That I've learned, and one thing that I coach and teach anyone that comes into my space is that we never underestimate your story. You know, we never underestimate what you will contribute to the story. Because, you know, people go, oh, no, I'm not good enough, or I don't think I got that. But people like us need to make sure that we encourage, but you have what it takes, that's why you're here. What can we add to your kite, to the gifts that you already have, and that you are good enough? And I've always used things like rugby league as a vehicle to build men. You know, we've had some not so good examples of men in the past. And I'm not judging that all men were bad. I'm just saying that some of us, our stories of domestic violence, a lot of our men make decisions that sometimes we don't like what we see, but when you hear their story, you're going, the fact is, it was around the ability to be violent. But the thing is that the truth was that they weren't able to cope with what was going on. And no one was able to provide respectfully options. but we're told you're a failure. We're told you're gonna be no good. You're a bad father, and those labels stick. So my role was around, okay, so how can we use the vehicle rugby league that I love that can build men and women, because I coach women's team too. It was interesting enough, and it was it was awesome, and my motto was about how can we use rugby league to build men and women of our community, just through a sport that we love and our icon. Yes, we got rugby. Yes, we used to have cricket, soccer here, and they weren't necessarily represented by our community. Um, and league just seemed to be that vehicle. And so, whatever you invest today as a youth worker, for me, whatever you invest today, you'll never see the fruits tomorrow, but you'll see it in time. And you see like for me, coaching my boys that I've had who are junior grades, they're now fathers. They're now loving and a loving relationship of understanding their responsibility as a father. Some have got businesses, some of them are managers, some have got their own businesses, and for me it's like I never saw that. I just saw my part to play in that journey. But their rangatiratanga, their determination, only God knew that. But I just played a part in that moment of that journey, and that's why I always tell my people, don't ever underestimate what you bring, but just give, you know. Um, Little things like it's what you do that people don't see. That's the investment. The return is down the track. You may never see it in the first 10 years. You may never see it in 20, but you get a shoulder tap on your shoulder and say, "Hi, are you Willie Peace?" Yes. You were my coach, and I was under 10s, and they're 30 years of age. I'm going, and I get emotional, going, "Wow!" I don't remember the name, but they remember the part that I played in their journey. And that's just God's plan that I was put in that moment to say, well, Willie, whatever your journey was, that moment was your time with this person, and you've done your bit, and move on. So to come back and see the club, to come back and see there's still teams here playing, I know my place in my journey. When I was needed to serve and make a difference, yes. When I was needed to provide some advice and some information, yes. But now in my they call it the third stage of life, is that older part of the community, and just to come and just acknowledge the work and just let people know that us oldies still have a place to play. It may not be directly within the operations or the logistics of the club, but people know that I'm part of this community, and if we can be a testimony that you may not be as active as you would like, but you're still part of the community. It's like the trees. We had to do a lot of work to put the tree in, water it, nurture it, and now we see it bloom. 30 years on, it still looks beautiful. And it's still a reminder of what makes this community. My advice to people of the future: what you do today, you may never see the fruits of it tomorrow, but the fruits will grow. And I grew up at home with the apple tree and a pear tree. And if you know how it grows, the apple tree grows quite quickly and it fruits quite quickly. With a pear tree, it takes a few seasons before it bears fruit. And that taught me, and this was in front of my window growing up. I'm going, man, I want a pear now. But I had to be patient. Quick wins, that's really cool. But the journey and the investment is what you put in, that the fruits will come if you're prepared to wait and be patient and believe that it will bear fruit. And I just use it as my own analogy when I'm coaching to teams around, things take time. Be patient. If we tackle more this year, awesome. And we never win a game, awesome. So the first couple of years of my boys coaching, we never won a game. Under 10, I said, guys, 2 years. 2 years. And so they go, 2 years, but we're getting a hiding in the first. I said, but it's 2 years, and it's in your own attitude. So the first year, first year, well, we lost every game. Second year, we probably won less than half. And then come under 12s, under 13, well, obviously the rest is history. We won 4 out of 5 championships. So that's the pear tree analogy, is being patient, go through the tough times. And, And even though the parents going, Willie, we're losing every game, but I like your coaching, but we're losing. I said, be patient, you know. Pacifica, their natural flair is the attack in sport. Come to defense, they're like, let them pass. We'll score again. I'm going, we'll get the ball. I'm going, okay. So teaching them defensive systems, defensive patterns. If we get that right, no, we're going to fussy everybody in the attack. And so just having that faith that this community is a great community. And even though it may go with ups and downs, we're resilient. We're like the phoenix that rises from the ashes. We will rise again and again and again if we believe in our people enough that they can make a difference in our community. I mean, look at Cecil Collins to talk about being the next mayor. 274, Aupito Sir William Seal was the first deputy mayor at the time under Manukau City. 274, you know. Len Brown, who did become mayor, 274 went to Mayfield Primary. So, these are Māori Pacifica Palangi brothers that we grew up with as our mentors to say, man, could I do that? Is that possible? Could I just become, outside of a factory worker, a labourer, could I become a manager? Could I even get a qualification like a degree in social work? And now I'm encouraging every young person, and education gives you an advantage. We've all played through the club, all my siblings. My father never played, but he was involved in the club and had a lot to say. So our Peace family have been part of this club during our era of involvement, and the parts that we've played, whether as a player, as an administrator, as a supporter, as a fan of our club. For us, it's all about family. If families don't get involved, then our club will die. Our community is built on family, a village of families that have played a significant part all the way back to the early days of Bill Wiki, all the days of people like Phil Marsh, the Rogers family, Shirley Murray in particular has been my main era during my time. People that just, their heart and soul was Ōtara. But I don't want people to misunderstand that it's what they do and what they've done that's behind the scenes. For me, it's the little things that people don't see that created the greatness of our club. Yes, we won the Fox, but behind the scene of that was hardworking people doing what most people don't do, which most clubs get funded for, physio, massive funding. But you get a local community who do it for free and never been paid. They were the success of our club. We were just fortunate to be blessed to have been players that won the Fox. But if the truth be known, it was all those that were behind the scene that created the success. And that's what people have to understand, is that it's not those that are playing in the field that represent the club. It's everybody that played a part to that success. Our junior grades. Without junior grades, we couldn't play in the senior competition. So we had to make sure that our juniors were looked after and they got what they deserved. But without the administrators, there would be no juniors, there would be no club. So every part as a family, and like parts of a body, you need both arms, both legs, and a body to function. That's how I saw the success of this club. That every part of its community was parts of the body that formed the success of the Ōtara Scorpions. And today's group of people, through the leadership of Willie Meyer and the people behind Willie, who are young people like yourselves in these positions, they've been amazing. So yeah, for me and my family, the Peace Clan, my father in particular that had a part to play, and I drove to play league again after my ministry through my brothers. Just wanted to play with my brothers one more time before because I was in my late 20s. And for me, that was my goal. And the fruits that came from that goal of playing with my brothers, I never expected that. because my whole goal was just to play with my brothers one last time before I give it away because I was too old. And then next minute, win the Fox at 32. Played for Counties Hero, played for Auckland. Playing for Auckland was what in the league was one of my schoolboy goals because I was playing rugby. So this cheeky Samoan, I want to play for Auckland and rugby league. So I played for Auckland Rugby in my teens and 20s, but I never played again until my 30s, and then I got a call up to play for Auckland Rugby League for Auckland Premiers. And I go, wow, the last tick. And so, in your hopes and dreams, nothing's impossible.